Hi, my name is John Antonakis. I'm Professor of Organizational Behavior at the Faculty of Business and Economics of the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. So the million-dollar question that's on everyone's mind is, who is going to win the election on the 3rd of November, Trump or Biden? How to predict the election outcome? Most models are based on polls, and polls are interesting. Polls are usually reliable, especially if the pollster has sampled correctly and weighted correctly based on how many people from either party are going to go to the polls and vote. Our model, the one I developed with Philippe Jacquart at EM Lyon Business School in France, works differently. It's based on the model by Raymond Fair at Yale University, which takes into account macroeconomic data and also incumbency data. Basically, what the model does is it looks to see who's in power, how long they've been in power, the political party, how the economy is doing. If one's running for a second term, one has an advantage. If one's party has been in power for 2 terms, one is at a disadvantage. The party has overstayed its welcome. So based on the incumbency factors, Trump now has an advantage. But the model also looks at certain economic factors, how much GDP is growing in the current year of the election, and how many quarters have had good news, in other words, over 3.2%. We build on this model, and we fine-tune it. We put on some turbos in there. That's called charisma, and I'll explain that right now. What's special about our model? Well, that we have the charisma difference of the 2 candidates in there. Most models that use objective information don't really care about who the candidates are. They sort of assume that either party has selected the most optimal candidate and both candidates are equally optimal, so what really matters is the economic fundamentals. So what we look at is who is more charismatic, what the economic model says. Now, when you plug in the numbers in the Fair economic model, it gives a very close call election favoring Biden slightly. We use that prediction that we interact with the charisma difference of the 2 candidates to make a prediction. So in general, we have very good out-of-sample prediction accuracy, and especially in situations that are uncertain, people look to see who is more charismatic. It's that person in whom they will place their trust. So who's more charismatic? As you can see in the charts behind me, Trump wins on that criterion, whether we look at the raw level of charisma he exhibited or the percentage per sentence as graded in the acceptance speech at the Republican convention for Trump and at the Democratic convention for Biden. Why do we take the acceptance speech at the convention? Well, that's the speech that's most watched by people who are going to vote. More than 40 million people probably will watch it, depending on different estimates. And that's a reasonably good proxy of how charismatic a person is over time. So according to our criterion, Trump has an advantage, especially now that the economic fundamentals are pretty shaky, and the Yale model predicts a close call election. Now here's the million-dollar question, who is going to win? Well, we're in a corona fog right now. It's very hard to see what's going to happen, and key to calibrating our model correctly is having accurate estimates for GDP growth. Now, we looked at forecasts made by OECD and a couple of the Federal Reserve banks, and it seems like GDP is going to contract by a pretty hefty amount by the end of the year, around about 10%, perhaps more. However, it's not that matters mostly. What matters is what's happening now in the current quarter, and we have forecasts ranging from 10% GDP growth all the way to 35%. So we took an average of all these forecasts, which seems that the economy is going to grow about 20% in the last quarter. You know, this brings a lot of good news. The stock market's going to do well. 401ks, IPAs are going to do well. People will feel wealthy. And, you know, that 10, 15% in the middle who's not hardcore Republican or hardcore Democrat, these are the ones who are going to make the election swing one way or another. So if we have another quarter of really good news, and if the stock market is booming, if GDP growth is going well, it seems like Trump will have the advantage, actually a very strong advantage. If there is contraction in this third quarter, which is unlikely, but you know, if GDP growth is quite limp, then Biden will do it. So according to the numbers we put in, for us, it seems like Trump will probably win the White House. So what could change this outcome? How certain am I of our prediction? In Corona times, one thing that I've learned is we have to be certain about one thing that we cannot be certain. So all is going to depend on what happens in this third quarter. That's the most recent news that voters are going to take when they go into the ballot box or write in their postal vote. But herein lies the rub. Is the post office going to deliver all the mail? We don't know that. Are the Democrats going to cooperate with the White House to pass a stimulus package? I don't know. Are there going to be other economic shocks that could help or hurt the US economy? Who knows? Will there be another corona wave and partial lockdown in states? Your guess is as good as mine. So, based on the economic data we have now, it seems to me that Trump should not be written off, and he has the highest probability of winning the White House. So that's it from me. See you in 4 years' time.